feature presentation.
Welcome back to another Untitled TIFF review. I am one of your hosts, Matt Rorabeck, alongside he's allergic to tomatoes, but he is tomato meter approved, Eric Marchen.
Matt, how are you?
I'm good, man. How about you?
I'm really excited to talk about the film we're reviewing today, Céline Sciamma's Petite Maman, which was a film that played at Berlin earlier this year, is the director's follow-up to what I think is her masterpiece, Portrait of a Lady on Fire. And for all intents and purposes, I pretty much avoided all reviews or plot synopsis, even the trailers
Same.
that have been coming out recently. And I think that is the best way to go into a movie like this, especially considering a big part of it is just kind of letting the movie unfold and kind of being taken aback by it and emotionally just completely and utterly surrendering to what is happening on the screen, because there are moments
In 71 minutes.
in 71
no
minutes
less.
we just recorded our review for Denis Villeneuve's Dune, and I gave a snarky tweet about how Céline Sciamma is able to do in 71 minutes what Denis Villeneuve isn't able to do in 155 minutes, which is tell an engrossing story that is so poignant and emotionally
Yeah,
engaging.
rich with emotion and
The
beautiful.
first scene of this film, I bawled. I literally like what
it almost got me right away, and I ended up crying near the end of it.
and
but
you don't know the characters at that point or the storyline, and that is not only great storytelling, but it shows you how Sciamma is just on this level that, whether or not she continues to stay on that, but she is right now on, like, top form.
She's
And
going off.
yeah, and it's an amazing little movie. And yeah, you could say, oh well, it's 71 minutes, so it's probably a little slight, or
That's exactly what I thought most people would
it's not.
say. And
It is
which is
not.
I think what held me, it's not at all. I totally agree with you. I think maybe if you're going to criticize anything, is like that might be the thing people pull out from it, and then maybe that's what's stopping me from giving it 5 out of 5, even though I'm close.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a near perfect movie. But yeah, I'm totally with you that, like, again, I don't want to say too much about this movie, which is something we talked about before we started recording, because we really do want, like, all I want to really say is that it is fantastic, and that it is, like, I think it is best going in knowing as little as possible, and just what Eric said, let the movie kind of immediately take you over and just be completely just taken by its sweetness and its emotional depth in this such a short running time. It's subtle. It's not like too in your face. It's just, you kind of just let this movie kind of play out over a very short runtime, and like I said, I think it is the sweetest episode of the Twilight Zone I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's also a very confident film, in that it is
Yeah.
trusting in its audience to understand what is going on through keen observations and little gestures and moments that are very relatable, especially, from the point of view of a child. And
Mhm.
the lead in this movie, the children in this film are not your typical child actor. There's no precociousness, there's
No,
nothing actorly about it. It's very natural and
it
lived
does.
in, but
Yeah.
it also still feels very much, mature in a lot of ways, and thoughtful, and it never condescends to the characters or the storylines, and you
Even
get
though it
so
has
much
this
out of it.
childlike sense of wonder to the
Yes,
whole
but
thing.
it's not too whimsical, or it's
Yeah.
not too saccharine either, where,
Yep.
like, those things can overwhelm a movie like this, that's going for, the childhood perspective on sort of adult situations. And it is so beautiful. It's so moving. It hits you in a way that when you see certain visuals, you're at first kind of completely perplexed and taken aback by what you're seeing. And then when you start to realize the mechanics of the script and what Sciamma did in terms of, working as not only a great director, but as a great writer, she's able to completely embrace something that is so lyrical and also profoundly moving. And again, like, you just think about who you are and who your parents are and who your grandparents are
Yeah.
and what that means, you know, in
It's all about family, baby.
it really, even thinking about it, I'm starting to
Yeah.
well up a little
I
bit,
know,
because it's
dude.
like,
At the end, I couldn't believe like it when the credits started. I had to like Nevis was watching with me, and I had to like stop from talking a bit because it hit me on such a level that I was not expecting. And I don't know what I was expecting, and I'm so glad that, in by the end of it, like as the credits are going, I had to stop. And I just kept saying that was so wonderful, and I was trying to, convey my feelings to Nevis, and I had to actually like stop myself because I was choked up constantly.
yeah, it's such a well-made movie that when you're watching it and you're kind of getting lost in the film, you know, you're not seeing the seams. And that
No.
is a great tell of what a filmmaker, you know, can do to transcend you into the world that, you know, they're depicting. Another a key collaborator in Celine Sciamma's work is cinematographer Claire Mathin, who we'll also be talking about with our review of Spencer, because she's the cinematographer on that as well.
Right, she is.
And
Okay, there you go.
this movie is not like you. Okay, the cinematography in Spencer is the cinematography you expect in Petite Maman, where
Sure, yeah.
this is very grounded and
It's simple but elegant. That's
yes,
like, yeah.
it. Again, I don't know how you make a movie like this and do it
It's
in a
almost a
way.
single location with, a middle part to it, and like uh,
It strips out
yeah.
all the excess, but
Yeah.
it yet still,
From the runtime to the location
to
to
any
any
additional exposition or
yeah,
world building or
or spoon
anything,
feeding or anything
there's
like
none
that.
of
Like,
that. And
I
it
mean,
is so, it's so hard to do that. It is so hard to do that. And it's just, it's this minor miracle of a movie, and you're just watching it
yeah.
and you're just like, this thing being in existence makes the world a better place, I
I
think.
totally agree with you. And you
Yeah.
mentioned the two lead performances by the young girls in this, the Sands sisters. Because at first I'm like, they look really similar. I'm like, are they twins? And then as the credits come, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, yeah. And both of them are just so sweet and adorable. But like you said, it never gets to that point of, movies that focus on children that become a little too whimsical or a little bit too sweet. Like the movie is just the sweetest thing I've ever seen, but it's not sickly sweet to the point where you kind of roll
Or
your
just a
eyes or go,
manipulative. It's
yeah,
never that at
manipulative at
all.
all. It's like we said, it's so simple. But I just found myself, even from the filmmaking and the editing standpoint too, when you're not just talking about this beautiful kind of touching story, the cinematography, like I said, it's just again, it's very few locations in the movie, but like every sequence is just it's tender and just like it feels authentic. And I love, a sequence, and some of the writing and the editing going together. I love like with the father and the young girl talking, and she just wants to get to bed because she wants to wake up the next day. And I love the dad's like, okay, teleport to tomorrow, and then he flicks off the light switch and it immediately cuts to the next day and the girl's out in the forest. And I'm like, stuff like that
Or
is
a shot at
just,
the
it's
table.
like,
Did you
yeah.
there's an
Oh,
amazing
that shot
transition.
is fantastic, dude.
I was
Um,
like, this is the greatest special effect I've seen in a
yeah.
movie all year.
And there's so much of that where the movie plays with, like I already alluded to when I said it is the sweetest episode of the Twilight Zone. And I'm not going to tell you what the movie's about because I really do want you to experience it. But there is an element there of that is really interesting. And the movie plays with editing and plays with, time and stuff like that in such an interesting way. And Eric mentioned a transition at the dinner table, and which is just it's just fantastic. And then I mentioned the light switch moment, and there's so many little things from that. And in this, we keep going this, we'll talk about Dune being way too long that didn't accomplish anything, and this being very very short and able to accomplish so much. But there were so many moments like that where it wasn't even just the story, it was just from the breeziness of the filmmaking that I was just like, man, there's so much more to this than even this really wonderful story about family and stuff like that. And yeah, those transitions in the editing I thought was also very, very good.
Yeah, you tweeted this already, but you know, more 71-minute
Oh
movies.
yeah.
But just also, this is the best film of the festival I've seen so far.
I agree.
And this is also one of the best movies of the year. And
I
again,
agree.
to follow, like, if you haven't seen Celine Sciamma's other movies, whether it be,
And I probably should.
Portrait of a Lady on Fire, or, Tomboy, or Girlhood, or Water Lilies, please do so. She is hands down one of the best filmmakers working today. And again, not every filmmaker has a batting average of 100, but it almost feels like, you know, again, like, you think, like, okay, Portrait of a Lady on Fire, like, okay, it's okay to coast for your next one. And no, this is a movie that just, again, hits it out of the park, and it just hits you in the feels in every way that it intends to, without being, mechanical or manipulative. And it's just so organic and natural and
It made me,
relatable
when
in
we
so
talk
many
about
ways.
nostalgia too, and how nostalgia can kind of be used as a weapon a little bit, or leaned on a little too heavily in movies. And honestly, we talked about that in Last Night in Soho, I think.
Which also is
Weirdly,
another movie that I
is
could see people, within the context of the festival, talk about, like, the mechanics of that
mhm.
script and how it does certain things and how this does certain
Yeah,
things.
that's it. Reminded me of that. Weirdly, Eric, it reminded me of a movie we watched called The Night House a little while ago too, to allude to some people of what this movie's about, if you've seen that. But not in any specific way. It just, anyways, doesn't matter. But yeah, man, just what a lovely, lovely movie that made me, very like nostalgic in such a nice way, that I miss the days of being this 8 years old, and wanting to almost experience what happens in this movie, and think that that would just be such a lovely kind of sweet thing. And it made me, yeah, it made me miss my mom. It made me miss childhood. It just, it covers all these wonderful things, and like we said, and it doesn't feel heavy handed, and it just feels organic and natural in each sequence, like, without just basically spoon feeding you everything. You just get to watch these two kids just be kids, but then there's so much more to it, that, again, it might seem more dancing around stuff, and I would love to talk about this more in full spoilers, but, like, just a sequence of even these two girls making pancakes, or crepes, and
Oh yeah,
and
that's
just,
really
like,
good.
it's just so sweet, like, each sequence of these two young girls kind of hanging out, um and doing kid things, and but then talking about life, and talking about their families, and what's going on with their families, and things like that. And then just the framing device of the movie is just something that I can't, like, maybe it's been done before, but I was just like, man, how have I never thought that this would be a great idea for a movie?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, and maybe it wouldn't be handled, like, again, the same way as Sciamma's able to
No,
do
because she
here, with,
makes it look
like,
so easy.
yeah,
That's the big thing. Like, you could see, like, I hate to even
there's gonna
fathom
be
this,
an
an
English
American
link. Yeah, I
remake,
know.
and
There's going to be,
and
probably,
like,
unless
I
she
can see them
controls it and says no.
overcomplicating things, where it's like, okay, we need to add more to the story to pad things out. But it's like, no, this movie is perfect as is. Do not, nobody touch this thing. This thing is amazing as it is. and
I
and
agree. I don't
and
want to say more. So, like,
no,
again,
just
like,
just see it when
I
it comes out, and I think
yeah,
it's supposed to come out in November. It hasn't been given a date as of yet.
Neon again, right?
Neon in the US, Elevation Pictures here in Canada, and I believe in some territories in the UK, Mubi is handling it.
I think it's
So
already out in France as well,
yeah,
maybe.
it
Yeah,
it is an absolute winner. Like, this is
I
like
totally
this
agree.
is like this is a just what a wonderful, lovely experience
It
to
made me,
have.
it reminded me why I love the movies
Yeah.
too, and just, like, it hit on every single level. And I know we're probably being a little broad, but I really don't want to
It's
talk about
better
it
to be
anymore. So
cryptic
yeah,
and to let people experience the film and have, um
the
their
same experience
own
we did too.
reaction
Yeah.
to
So
it.
we'll just leave it at that. It is phenomenal. It is also my favorite movie of the festival. I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5. I think like, I could even go as high as a 5, but I think uh maybe my only criticism is that I both love the 71 minutes, but I also felt like they could have gone even a little bit more.
Well,
But
you
it's
don't want it
almost,
to end. That's almost
yeah,
like that.
I think
That's
that's probably the
Yeah.
only thing. So 4.5 for me, but
Yeah, I'm also going to give it a 4.5, and without spoiling anything, I think it has a perfect ending, like a perfect ending.
Dude, the last line in the movie is so good.
Yeah.
Just that last sequence is so good. It's phenomenal. Go see it. If it's still playing at the festival at times, go see it. If it's not, please go see it when it comes out.
And we'll
Um,
if you listen or watch us on the Untitled Movie Podcast, we'll remind you when
oh
it's
yeah,
coming out theatrically, because
absolutely.
this is one of those just gems, and like it makes you feel alive, and you just I've never felt
Appreciate
so
life and
yeah, and
family,
I've never
and
felt so energized watching
I
a
agree.
movie in such a long
I
time.
was so tired, dude, yesterday. I had a 2-hour nap, and this woke me the hell up to the point where I was like, I can watch another movie right now.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna. It's great. Go see it. Thank you all for listening or watching. You can catch all of our TIFF reviews right here on YouTube on the Untitled YouTube channel. So hit subscribe, hit that notification bell. You'll get all of our reviews. Give us a thumbs up if you would be so kind. Or if you like the audio version, you can head over to Untitled Movie Reviews. If you're on the go or just don't want to see our stupid faces, we understand. Head over to Untitled Movie Reviews and you guys can get the audio version. Head over to our Letterboxd HQ, which is Untitled_movies. You can it's the one-stop shop for everything, our ratings, our YouTube videos, social links, all that kind of stuff. So head over to Letterboxd and do that. And as always, my name is Matt Rorabeck. You can get more of my work around the internet, but mostly right here on Untitled Movie Podcast, the series of them. And you can follow me on all those social medias at Matt Rorabeck.
And I'm Eric Marchen. You can find more of my video reviews at rogerstv.com/cinemascene. Matt and I are on the latest episode of Cinemascene, which is broadcasting right now on Rogers TV and will be available to stream soon, where we talk about our most anticipated TIFF movies. It has dated a little bit since then, but at the same time, if you want
Hey, you can watch it and then go listen to our review of Dune.
Yeah, if you want a bite-sized version of kind of what we do on the regular show, that kind of gives you a glimpse or a tease into that as well. And you can find me on the social medias at EM6211.
Until next time.
Petite Maman is a masterpiece.